Okay, so here in the studio early morning, we're going to be trying to do a rapid burnout today. I got to switch this kiln over for this one, so it's under my ventilation. This is going to be a chore though, because this is heavy. This is also heavy and dirty and gross, so let's just dive into it. We now have to run tests because this is, I believe, well, judging by the look of it, a little bit of an older kiln. There's no owner's manual that I can find. If you are someone who's really good at finding that stuff, would you please link me down in the comments? That'd be amazing. I may have figured out the details I need already before then, but you know, it can't hurt to ask. So I've set it to low because I want to figure out what temperature does low reach? What is it trying to get to? I know that from the internet that this thing will get up to 2000 degrees in 30 minutes, but that's probably on high. So what does low mean? I'm not entirely sure. We'll have to figure that out. Once we figure out what low is, and what I'm aiming for ultimately is about 700 Celsius, so about 1300. That's when I'm going to start to just throw in these flasks, of course, when they're invested with things in them, and we'll start that rapid burnout process. Okay, so we've invested 3 flasks that we're going to be putting into the new kiln, doing our rapid burnout. Now, specifically to make this work, I've kind of veered away from what I have on my cheat sheet. My typical ratio is 40 to 100. So we're going down to 36 parts water, which means that it's going to be more investment heavy, which means in theory, it should set up faster and it'll be a little bit stronger when it goes into that kiln at the immediately high heat. For now, we need to let these flasks set up for the next 2 to 3 hours, and we'll do some other work in the meantime and we'll go from there. A few seconds ago, we sounded really positive, and now it's like 2 weeks later after that. Needless to say, it didn't go as planned. This kiln that we got cheap used was sitting in someone's basement for a long time, and I suppose the wiring corroded. So we called our friends up at Pottery Supply House. They're the Euclid distributor here. I'm not sure if that's like a larger brand or if it's something they have just in-house. Either way, I've had Euclid products for quite a while. They're one of the companies that when I called up and said for this older kiln, I need a new element, they literally just looked on the wall that must have been hanging there and they said, oh yeah, no problem, we got it, 45 bucks. It was like that easy. And that's even for a machine that came from like the 70s, 1970s. So they're really, really reliable. I'm really happy with the service. Their knowledge is expert. They weren't entirely sure without having the kiln in front of them what the problem could be, but based off of what I said, they said it's not a bad thing to get a new element. Again, 45 bucks, so I got one of those. I haven't installed it yet though, because this current one is actually in pretty good shape, but it's nice to have a backup. And they also sent me a controller. This is the old controller, and I can actually see here, this was one of the main power ins. It melted, it was corroded to begin with, so that was definitely the problem. It was this. Now they sent us a new one. We've already installed it. We just have to put the front cap on and we should be back in business. Morning. So this is continuing our rapid burnout thing. It is like 5:30 in the morning. I'm in here for other reasons other than the fact that it's a rapid burnout day. We've got our kiln up and ready, running. I've turned it on and I've kind of gauged what the dial actually means. So basically, if I turn this to the number 5, as you can see on there, if I turn this to 5, what this is going to do on the pyrometer, because these two are linked, is this is going to try to hold at around 600 Celsius, which not too bad. That's a good place to start. Anyway, the kiln is getting up to temperature. It takes about 2 hours to get to that 600 C. At that 600 C, I'm gonna have let my flasks, which are down here on the floor, resting in front of a fan to dry quicker. I'm gonna put those flasks straight into the kiln and we'll be back on track, I hope. This is going to be by far the largest metal pour that I've ever done at one time. This melter is going to be holding like, I think it's 2.5 kilos of bronze or something ridiculous. I might actually have to feed it, so half and then refill. Not ideal because I'd like to be able to just pull everything out of the kiln one at a time, pour, next one, pour, next one, pour, and then have everything cooling. But it is what it is, and I want to be safe. When you overfill this thing, it tends to slosh a little bit, and I've actually got some like bronze just kind of kicking around here. That's actually like a shell that's been melted. So I'm playing it safe. I've also got some other work, got a tumbler running in the background. I'm sure you can hear that in the video. I will report back today as we go through. I'm looking at this very positively. I think this is going to be the right one. We've finally dialed in enough that this should be a good cast. So fingers crossed. I think I've got the kiln where I need it to be. This line here is the 1350 line. It's pretty much holding there. I just set it to 6 after having it on max for pretty much the entire time. I'm still gonna try to hold this temp for at least another 2 hours. Something to note, if you're ever doing a burnout like this with a kiln, preheat your kiln to pretty much as high as you can, because as soon as you load your flasks, I noticed that I had this preheated up to about 1,000, and it dropped all the way down from 600C to 200C. So it was a massive drop. The cold flasks just sucked up so much of the temperature in the kiln that I was left at 200C for like an hour and a half, give or take. I was really hoping to put them in and then just like, take straight off. I mixed the investment really strong so that it should be able to handle that thermal shock. I mean, it's not a bad thing because we're still on track time-wise, and it kind of had a slower ramp up, so I don't see it as a bad thing, but it wasn't ideal. So anyway, the point of this is that if you're gonna do a rapid burnout, preheat your kiln a little bit higher than you think you need to, because those flasks will take a lot of the heat, and then you're gonna climb up back slowly. So the kiln got up to temp as hoped. I really wasn't too worried about that. But the nice thing is that this dial actually corresponds with my old kiln, which is down there. This one, you just put it up to the 5.5 approximate number, and it sticks itself at about 1350. So that's easy to remember. It got up there, I held it for like at least 3 hours minimum. The smoke stopped after about an hour or so I'm very confident that these are really well cooked. Something that I have noticed about this kiln though is that the temperature doesn't come down very quickly, which is fine. Basically, I guess it wants to stay hot, which is good. That's what a kiln's designed to do. So I left it for like an hour at, I think I'm at a 2 now, and it only dropped by like a little bit, not the 1,000. This is because I've aired it out so far, but it dropped very little, and I mean, it's working. So I just kind of had to open the door, let it vent a little bit, and I think it's gonna go well. The metal appears to be almost up to temp. This is gonna be one of the biggest pours of bronze that I've ever done. I believe it's like 2.5 kilo, give or take. So once I've poured what's already in there, I have to add what's on top, which is preheating. Yeah, I know there's a little bit of gunk on this one, but it's minimal, and maybe I'll still scrub it because I can still kind of put it back on top and let that water evaporate. You never want to put something wet into a hot furnace because it'll explosively remove that water. So anyway, I think this is going to go well. Rapid burnout. First true rapid burnout, but it's really great that we're able to do this all in one business day. This was, of course, all printed a couple of days before, but we sprued it, we invested pretty much all in one day. And then we had it in the kiln, and it is now about 2 o'clock p.m., 2 p.m., and we're about to do a pour. So after this, we'll still have ample time in a standard work day, if you follow such a thing, to get more work done. And I'm probably not going to be sticking around too much longer because I was here at 5:30. But, you know, the concept is there at least. So anyway, hopefully this goes well. So since we started this video, we've done a number of rapid burnouts and we're getting pretty good at it, honestly. We've seen some mixed results though. We've determined that fully printed in place trees are definitely possible using smaller models and even larger models. And then some in between, and some of the larger ones just haven't been burning out properly. So we are learning as we go. We're gonna be making more videos on this topic if it's something that you guys are interested in. I can't imagine why you wouldn't be, because so far we've been able to cut our burnout time by less than half. So normally it would run about 12 to 14 hours, and now we're down to a very solid 5. We've also determined that we can invest our plaster in 2 hours instead of the full six hours. And mixing at a slightly lower ratio, the 36 to 100 versus 40 to 100, has pretty much eliminated any issues we have ever had with cracking and flashing. I think that's going to be very important whether or not you do a rapid or a long burnout. So if you're doing jewelry, as we kind of still are, but kind of moving towards sculpture these days, this rapid burnout schedule and this plaster investment mixing ratio is probably going to be enough for you. But if you're casting heavier, if you're starting to do more sculptural stuff, you might want to get subscribed, because we're now looking into, in the next video, the follow-up video to this one, a mod for this kiln and rapid burnout, where we start looking at introducing forced air into the kiln to help with that combustion. So I'm going to leave it here because I could keep talking all day. I will see you guys in the next video.